And welcome to another exciting episode of the Comic Book Chronicles. I am your host, Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can find me at CBCaps on, well, excuse me, you can find me at News and Need on Twitter. You can find me at CBCaps on Instagram. And the sound effects you've heard come from none other than our man in Brooklyn, one Agent_7 on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads.
What's up, everybody? Co-hosting from the Borough of Kings, live and direct. Yeah, you know what? This is all I gotta say.
In the house.
And you can find this here podcast on the Cold Slither Podcast Network. That's cspn.us.
Do it today.
You could also find us on your podcast perusal place of choice, whether it be Apple iTunes, like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Cold Slither Podcast Network's SoundCloud page.
Make sure to click like, subscribe, and leave us all the positive 5-star reviews, especially on Apple Podcasts, because that helps people find our show.
Indeed. You could also find us recording every Thursday night, mostly every Thursday night, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time on the YouTube channel of The Kliq Nation. That's youtube.com/The Kliq Nation and twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles.
Again, please click like, subscribe, and leave us positive reviews. Hit that notification button so that you know when we are on live and direct.
All right, folks, we're going to dive right into this with the premiere, the first 2 episodes of Agatha All Along, episodes 1 and 2.
Yeah, we're not playing the music, but we all remember that, you know,
Indeed.
from WandaVision.
Indeed. And speaking of WandaVision, they definitely made a callback, because it is, I think, if I'm not mistaken, it is some of the same crew behind it.
Yes.
Definitely the same creator behind WandaVision as with this. So we get a little bit of catch up with Agatha in a very, not necessarily, well, in a very familiar and very WandaVision type way.
Yes.
For the first episode.
Yes. So in a sense, what we find here, and like at least the immediate premise, right? The immediate start of the show is all about what happens to Agatha in the wake of the events of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The ending of that movie, you know, obviously we can spoil it, but we, you know, if you don't know, we're not gonna. Something happens at the end of that movie to the Scarlet Witch, and like I said, something, right? That's probably the best way to put it.
I'm
right?
saying presumably, but yes.
Right. Something happens, and that causes a ripple effect into the vestiges of what remained from the WandaVision show, and that's essentially where we pick up.
Sorta, yes. And actually, there is a callback. There was an interesting callback that you don't think about. Well, you might not think about until you get to a certain part of the first episode that calls back to the Multiverse of Madness without actually saying much about it. In fact, it starts pretty early on at the beginning, but you don't think about it until those things start coming, unless you're just really that quick on the draw, you know, because they give you the clues, but you don't really, or at least most people won't even think about it until, like I said, the things come out later on in the episode that still may or may not give you, you know, the pieces that you need.
Like the hints, right? They definitely hints and callbacks.
Exactly. So, but I thought it was I thought it was well done the way they did it. So we'll go ahead and spoiler just a little bit in the fact that, so where we find Agatha is not necessarily the way we left her, because the only thing we saw is what Wanda did to her at the end of WandaVision. But going from that to how this plays out to start off with, like I said, it's slightly different. And it kind of leaves you going, wait, what? Because I don't remember this happening like this, which it didn't, but it is still playing on, excuse me, things that WandaVision did that to a great effect. So, but before things start unraveling, and I will say, go ahead and say right off here before I forget, the first episode is called "Seeketh Thou the Road," and the second episode is called "Circle Sewn with Fate / Unlock Thy Hidden Gate," which lyrics,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, I was
lyrics
gonna say, if
come
you
into
hadn't
play.
figured it out by now, this kind of picks up a little bit on one of the aspects of the Agatha character, which is there's a lot of music involved.
Mm-hmm.
Right? This is not a musical, but there's definitely, elements of music involved in the story. Even, like obviously we got Agatha's theme song, Agatha All Along from WandaVision, but now we're seeing even more musical elements being woven into this particular story and the way the story is being told.
Right, and I'm sure there are some folks more versed in witchcraft and that kind of stuff that'll say that yeah, music is kind of a part of witchcraft in certain aspects of it, so that
Right.
all plays together.
Melodies, right, exactly. Melodies and like a spoken word and
Cadences and
so
yeah.
it's exactly.
So and the one, so like I said, we don't want to spoil too much because the thing just came out yesterday as we're
Yeah, last night.
recording.
Right.
Yes. And I guess will continue to come out every Wednesday at 9:00 p.m. as opposed to the 3 a.m. we used to be used to getting shows at. And apparently, if I'm not mistaken, it's going to be 9 episodes.
I think I saw that too.
Yeah, which if the size of the first 2 episodes are indication, they could be relatively meaty, because I think those first 2 episodes were upwards of 40, like 40 and
Yeah.
42 minutes.
Yeah, minus credits, it was like 40 something. Yeah.
Right. So if that keeps up, then yeah, they're going to push things along here.
Right. Right.
The cool thing about the well, oh, actually, there is something else I would like to mention, because now that I think about it, in the first episode, while we didn't get the, usually we get a warning of certain things before the show, because like photosensitivity and stuff like that. This could be possibly the first Marvel / Disney show with a little bit of partial nudity in it.
Oh yeah, that's funny.
So,
even I felt bad for the character who was stuck in a particular situation, dealing with the partial nudity. I was just like, oh man, poor guy.
I'm sure they were all right, because I suspect they
No, obviously it's exactly, but I just kind of chuckled at the situation because
right.
I can imagine, like in if that was actually happening,
Right.
like,
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing that story, to see, because I'm kind of curious about that part. I feel fairly confident saying that's like, nah, she was probably all covered up and whatnot, or that was a body double.
right.
And they kind of put that in later, I suppose. But I can't say that for certain, because I don't know. And who's to say? Catherine Hans might have done some some nudity in her past works. Who knows? I don't know. That's a slight spoiler for that, but hey, not as much. But that being said, I ended up doing some research after the second episode on some of the characters, and I guess I shouldn't be surprised to know that most, if not all, of the characters that show up in the second episode are quote unquote established Marvel characters.
Right. And some are more well known than others, but yeah.
Yes. Yeah. One in particular, I was like, okay, they just flipped the race on that one, but it's still that character, because I was like, I knew that name sounded familiar somehow, some way, and sure enough, okay, yeah, that's that person.
Right. I haven't looked up any of them, but some of the names definitely sounded familiar.
Yeah. There is one, however, and I know there's going to be people theorizing about this. There is a character that is a part of this where we don't get their actual name, and there's a reason why that happened.
Right.
And I suspect that is going to play into some people's theories, long-standing theories, on an entity that may end up showing up. And and the second episode specifically may have given more credence to this, especially with a thing that they said, not necessarily with the person I'm thinking of, but just in general.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
So, so I had a couple of observations before we move on, and wrap it up. One, obviously, as we're wrapping the second episode, I'm like, whoa, we're this is very much like a spin on the Wizard of Oz, right? Not exactly the yellow brick road, but another road that they have to follow, right?
Yeah, which has been in the which has been in the trailers and whatnot. So
right. I know but I haven't watched any of the trailers, so
okay.
this was my first exposure to it.
Gotcha.
I wanted to come into it fresh, so I have not watched any of the trailers. The second thing I found interesting was that in the credit sequences, the end credit sequences, we see multiple references to witches in pop culture, including television that I'm just not used to seeing being incorporated into Marvel Disney, like Fox. I'm like, there's Lisa Simpson.
Yep.
There's also there's a Bewitched reference also. I'm like, wow.
Well, that one I feel like that was probably more expected than the
but they dyed the hair color.
Right. But yeah, the Lisa Simpson one was like, corporate synergy.
Exactly. But like I said, I'm just not used to seeing it in a Disney production. But then you remember the ownership change. So.
Right, and they have been doing a lot of Simpson shorts on Disney Plus with
exactly
Marvel.
But like I said, it's just it's jarring to a certain extent if you're of a certain vintage. You're like, wait, why is this?
Right. Right.
So anyway, that's it. That's it for my thoughts on this. That was pretty fun. I thought it was fun. I don't know if it's going to be like absolutely necessary. Obviously we see some hints at relations to Wanda Maximoff occupying the show right now. So we'll see how all that kind of carries forward.
Aubrey Plaza continues to have a roles where she just looks like she's actually crazy and plays them fairly decently.
He enjoys that stuff, man.
You know what? I'm not denying it. I mean, I'm not doubting that.
She enjoys it. She's partially typecast. She just enjoys it.
Or that's just her. Who's to say? Because there are people who just kind of play themselves. Because even if you see her in interviews and stuff, like, nah, she'll just burn your shit down.
We're looking at you, Denzel. We're looking at you. A couple people.
In almost a whole bunch of people that's popular nowadays. You can put that towards, including RDJ. I'll put that out there. I said
exactly.
So, but yeah, that's that. And it was some good stuff. It has definitely got me interested to see how this goes, whether it's going to be significant to the larger Marvel Cinematic Universe or not. I'll say that. And with that, we are going to move on. Agent 7 did not get a chance to catch up with Rings of Power, and I'm
again.
Quite
and
frankly,
I apologize, folks.
No, I'm sure. Not shocked and appalled, but I'm actually surprised, him being a Lord of the Rings fan. So, but hey, people get busy, so things happen, and it comes out on the day we record, so it's not that easy to, get to if you got a full day.
Right. If it's an office day, it's hard.
Right. So can't be blamed for that. We did talk about this a little bit before the show, and I won't spoil anything about it, and I didn't spoil anything here, but the show continued to be good. The things, like I told him before the show, things is continuing to bubble up, promisingly, because you kind of know where it's leading, and with who is obviously leading towards, who is already in the picture. Just more machinations kind of come together towards a way Yeah, people have been tested. Storylines have been. You see at least a storyline that kind of pops in for a second. That will probably intersect with another one of the ones that will that have been that is prominent within the last couple of episodes. Um, and yeah, it's some good stuff. The return of a character that from the last episode that Agent 70 was happy to see, and I was also, I will say that much.
Mm,
I'm
nice.
not gonna say who it is because it could be a couple of different people.
Right. Right.
So, but yeah, like I said, things continue to bubble. It continues to be a good show, and we only got 2 episodes left, as they just already mentioned prior to the show. So yeah, and it's yeah, like I said, it's kind of one of those things. Like even though it's not over with yet, it's like, hey man, I wish there was more of this. You know,
Yeah.
like Game of Thrones can get I don't know how many episodes per season, but this is only getting. But to be fair, it's different people, different budgets, and all that kind of stuff. So like they, you know, if you could tell your story in this short amount of time, then so be it. You know, I'm not knocking that about it, but it's just kind of one of those like, yeah, this show's been so good. I kind of would like a little bit more than what we're getting. But these episodes, 8 episodes, or these 6 we've gotten so far, and I'm sure the next 2 are going to be just as meaty as these 6 have been so far.
Right.
That being that. And with that, we are going to actually move on into into talking about comic books.
Here we go.
Meanwhile, at the Hall of Justice.
And our first up, which I totally forgot to put the cover up for, but that's okay because we're going to do this right now while I'm talking. And luckily, it's right up at the top of the list is. Second, Avengers number 18.
Avengers number 18 is written by Jed McKay with art by Valerio Schiti, colors by Brian Valenza. There's a little typo in Brian. And letters by VC's Corey Petit. And we pick up where we left off at the end of last issue with Hyperion hurtling his way towards Earth. And the Avengers are coming up with every which way to defend the Earth and to find ways to pinpoint Hyperion. And right at the last second, someone comes up with the plan that stops all the violence.
Not really, yeah, basically alters the plan, actually.
Yeah.
So, which was good. But it was kind of one of those things like, wow, are they really going to do this? Because they built up this issue saying, well, it's got to be this way. You know, this is the only plan we got until that happens. So you kind of wondered, but you should probably figure otherwise, you know, whether the original plan was going to happen or not. And it was pretty much almost an all hands in a way type of situation, because not only were the Avengers doing their thing, but the new recruit kind of came in and brought in a little bit of help. Surprisingly, but who she brought in was like, ugh, God, why that person? But then again, as I told you,
that's a Roddykat thing. That's definitely a Roddykat thing.
Yes, it is.
I'll tell you that one thing I found interesting is that the solution that they find, is something that one of the people they consult for help should have come up with in the first place.
Yeah.
But that one of those people that they seek out for assistance doesn't exactly have a mantle any longer. So maybe that's why they're playing down that particular capability. We'll see.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. But it all worked out one way or another. We also get an appearance by, which I was kind of surprised to see, but also not surprised given the callback to the big callback to this issue, which is Heroes Reborn, and this character.
Didn't McKay write Heroes Reborn?
Ding ding ding.
So, he's playing his own sandbox again.
Actually, let me hold on. Let me go back on that. I feel
to the Marvel Unlimited I go.
Wait, no. I don't. Maybe not. No.
So the Marvel Unlimited. Are you going to the Google?
Uh,
It's all right, because this is us doing like in person live research.
It was not. It was Jason Aaron.
Uh, you are correct.
Mhm.
You are correct.
And now that I think about it, yes, because it was during his run of Avengers. But and also there's two heroes are born. So if you're looking that up, you got to look up the 2021 version, not
Yep.
the 1996 one. So
I knew that part.
I know,
Yeah,
but I'm just saying, telling people out there because the first thing that
sure.
came up was Heroes Were Born in '96, and I clicked on it by mistake. So
Yeah.
but so yeah, that was so he's actually using someone else's toys on that one. Well, that and the person that that came in popped in was someone he just recently used for his event. So it's all love and family in that respect.
Right.
But yeah, so that's pretty much that, and we actually got a circuit, not necessarily with some music mutants involved, but it was one born around magic, but nevertheless, I still consider that a circuit. So,
Right.
and that is pretty much what what made the original plan kind of come together. Before I'll just go ahead and say it, a member of the team went and altered the plan with his analytical mind.
Right.
So it worked out. Now, will we see something coming out of that part where it happens to Hyperion? Maybe, maybe not. Or we may never see him again. Who's to say? But it was good. Also, there was a reference to the last Cerebro. I'm like, I could have sworn there was at least 2 or 3 floating around in the X corner.
Right. They also referenced something happening to Magneto, so I'm kind of trying. We're kind of left to wonder where this falls in the current timeline of the X-Men. From the Ashes rollout.
Wait, I'm sorry. I thought that was X-Men that mentioned that.
Oh, that's X-Men. I apologize.
Yeah. That wasn't here.
Oh, that's a spoiler for that one.
Yeah, we'll get to that. So, because I had that same, I had the same thought as you about that part. I was like, wait, what happened there? But anyway, we'll get to that in a second. Yeah. But that's Avengers 18. It was a good issue. The way things kind of came together and resolved was good. And at the end of it, something we kind of felt that we knew was going to happen. At least I know I did. Maybe Agent 70 probably did too. Well, I know we did because we had talked about this prior to this. In that a team member leaves. One comes in and one leaves. And not surprising with them having at the very least, a shared power set.
Right, like a duplicative power set. That's how we've talked about it before.
Right. Then one leaves because of things going on in their book, and like I said, another comes in to take up to take up a spot. Grandy.
To take the roster spot. Very sports. That's a very sports way of looking at it.
Sure. It is also kind of funny because like I told Agent 70 that I had totally forgot about, which like I said, we'll get to in a second. X-Men. That like I said, Storm has been propositioned for the team, and she may or may not have said yes to that. And says not to spoil anything, but she does go to seek help from a past team member, and there was also kind of a slight jab at the structure of an X team, and within. And going into the book that we're about to talk about right now, which is X-Men #4, feels like it kind of holds true to what that jab was pertaining to. So X-Men #4 is what we're about to talk about right now.
X-Men #4 is written by Jed MacKay, with pencils by Netho Diaz, inks by Sean Parsons, colors by Marte Gracia, and letters by VC's Clayton Cowles. So, just as Roddykat was mentioning, this issue revolves around Cyclops' group of X-Men being kind of parsed out. Some are working in this corner, some are working in this corner, and some are doing other things. So what we have is one group of team members from this faction of X-Men up against the upstarts who are now social media savvy.
Ugh.
Right. And they play off of unfortunately, like they kind of create an allegory to current events and to the current ways of thinking. And what I kind of appreciated about it is that yes, there's a little bit of like mild exposition about like what Juggernaut is doing on this team and why he's there and what his purpose is.
An explanation about his costume.
Exactly. And I still kind of chuckle at the idea of, Juggernaut is still powerful, but they've nerfed him to a certain extent, to borrow a video game term, because he should be running a lot of these characters over. Like, it should not even be a question. But they find ways to write around his unstoppableness.
I don't think that's nerfing, because let's face it, if he's running at you and you throw some ball bearings onto him, he's going to trip up. That's not necessarily nerfing. That's just using his momentum against him.
I mean, if those ball bearings can hold up under his weight,
well, that's also true. Like, but
you know what I mean? Like, it's just like I said. Like, it all depends on how they write and what their objective is with him as a character. We also find out that Magic is in communications with another character who may or may not be incommunicado with the rest of the X-Men.
Yeah, and I did not, because I kind of figured who it was when we see what she was doing,
right,
instead of communication. But I totally don't, because I wasn't reading the book that this character was in, and especially coming out of the Krakoan era, and I know that character had been into some stuff because of that, and I assume that is also the reason why he's not in communication. That's one of the other reasons why he's probably not in communication with the rest of the folks.
Right.
But I mean, if you know anything about Magic, you know who it is. It's not a big surprise.
It can't be.
Yeah, it shouldn't be.
Yeah, it can't be.
It very much shouldn't be a surprise of who she's in contact with. What was a surprise is what she was doing with said character. Because let's face it, Yana Rasputin doesn't seem the most patient person in the world, much less to partake of a game as cerebral as chess.
Right.
And that right there should give you another reason as to who, if you didn't already have any kind of reason to recognize who he's in contact with. But real quick,
it's Professor Xavier. It's Professor Xavier.
There you go. Exactly. He even though he's in jail, he's found a way to play chess and not against Magneto.
By text message.
Exactly. I made that joke because it's like, oh, by the chess by text is the new email, chess by email, because that used to be a thing.
Yeah.
So including
it's like
Civ.
I was about to say, it reminds me of one of my favorite sequences in The West Wing was President Bartlett playing chess with like two different boards at the same time, going in between them, like like, oh, this move was made, and so he would be playing it in his head.
Right.
So
we knew our West Wing reference was going to happen some point in this show. That wasn't expecting it to be now.
It's the 25th. Can you believe it's the 25th anniversary of the show?
Jeez. Yeah, there's been a couple of anniversaries. It's like,
I know. Do we have anything in the news about the Emmys?
No, but I know what you're going to bring up, and we can bring it up at the top of the cinematic news. Because I forgot to put that in there. But I want to read this real quick before we move on. This is the flavor text for the solicits for X-Men 4, which makes me love and hate this issue all the more. They kill for kicks and they kill for Kliqs. Hello, Internet. It's your boy, Trevor Fitzroy, which actually reminds me of something else I'm going to mention. That's right, Trevor Fitzroy and the upstarts out here delivering the content you crave. Live streamed, bespoke, mutant murder, and high def. And best of all, you, the viewers, are the ones rating the kills. So smash that like button, hit subscribe, and tell us who the #1 killer is.
Oh, God.
That should tell you everything you need to know about the upstarts and what they're playing at in this.
But to a certain extent, I feel like McKay's a little bit tongue in cheek because he's using these like what was it, like the O crew or the O men or something like that, like the O.
Yeah, I don't know. I
there's-
know they reference ecstatics, and I never read that, so I don't know
Right,
too much about.
right.
the
I
people that
own
showed
it
up.
and then never and I've never looked at it because I got it as a hand me down as part of a hand me down collection,
Right.
and I just incorporated it into my collection and never looked at it.
Right. So I couldn't tell you who half of these people or any of these people are, honestly.
Right.
So
Right, but I kind of chuckled at the the names. I was like, oh, of course that's from Ecstatics. Of course that's from Ecstatics.
On the other side of this, we got. As I make a joke in my notes, Scott's trying to get Evil Beast back into play because of pushing, pushing things. Because Beast is like, I got work to do. Well, no, we need you out in the field, and it's like, well, that's nice. Now, granted, that's me being, making a haha. It's not necessarily me being serious about that. But you never know. You never know what comes into these X books, because I feel like that could have struck a nerve. Actually, it looked like it did strike a nerve, but he did it anyway. Regardless,
right. And we also get whatchamacallit at the end. Did you have another point?
I was gonna get to that, but go for it.
Oh, no, at the end you're gonna point out someone who appears at the end in the cliffhanger page.
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that another character from a relic from the Age of Apocalypse makes an appearance. That's like a minor spoiler. A relic character from the Age of Apocalypse appears on the cliffhanger page at the end of the book.
I had heard that name before. I wasn't quite sure where that character was from. So thank you for that.
And knowing is half the battle.
Ding, 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 ding. Yes. I guess the last thing I was going to say before we push on is that Trevor Fitzroy, if that name sounds kind of familiar, if you're thinking in an MCU type of way, I feel like you wouldn't be wrong in doing so, because he gives shades of Trevor Slattery.
But Trevor Fitzroy is like a 90s X-Men character.
Oh, I'm not that at all. But I'm just saying the way he comes off in this.
Yeah, he's written.
Because I didn't know this. I didn't know this dude from Adam. So, but the way he was written here just reminds me of Trevor in the MCU. So I was like, huh. I don't know if that was what they were actually going for. Probably wasn't, but nevertheless, it just felt like that to me, because I had no other reference than outside of actual YouTubers and whoever that talk the way he does. Right. So, and he just say I don't like Trevor. So based on everything, based on all of that, so it doesn't matter. And with that, unless 8-7 has something else you want to say.
No, I'm good. I'm good. He said another West Wing reference.
What's next?
Well, that was the one I was expecting, actually. So,
gotcha.
Last book we have in between us is a surprise for both of us, actually. Dazzler number 1 of 4.
Yes, Dazzler number 1 of 4. Dazzler number 1 of 4 is written by Jason Liu. Art is by Rafael Luerero. Colors are by Hava Tartaglia. And letters are by VC's Ariana Mar. So the premise of this book is that Dazzler was working on music, a new album, like a comeback album or a new album, while she was on Krakoa. But in the wake of her death and resurrection and the fall of Krakoa, apparently the album was recently released and has been number 1 on the pop charts or the Billboard charts for 8 straight weeks. And now she's going to tour. And obviously there's going to be some anti-mutant stuff going on, especially given the climate that her album has been released in. And there's definitely some social commentary going on here, overall, right? Like some allegorical social commentary going on, and some straight up, right on the nose social commentary going on. Forget the allegory. Yep. So I actually found myself enjoying this book. A lot of the story is told through, not through dialogue, but through song, but it's literally in the form of a concert. So it's not like a musical per se. It's just the song and the song lyrics being sung at certain intervals during during particular scenes, especially during a fight scene, that help to kind of punctuate that this is the kind of character we're dealing with, a super powered mutant who is oftentimes a hero, but oftentimes a reluctant hero, and finds herself, kind of in between a lot of the times, especially for anyone who's been reading Dazzler's exploits with the X-Men going back to like the late 80s, the early mid 80s even. So I found myself enjoying this book.
Mhm.
And some of the guest stars in it too are kind of welcome. I'm glad to see them getting a little bit of shine in some of them in roles that we're familiar with, and some of them we're not all that familiar with. It's interesting to see. I'll throw Domino out as an example. Like,
Mhm.
oh, so this is what Domino's up to now.
Which makes sense for her.
Right? Because she's not running. She's not running around with X-Force, isn't she? Is she? I thought she was. No.
I couldn't tell you. You would know better than I would because I haven't.
I know. I read it and I'm like, oh shoot, I can't remember.
Right. Which actually, that you said that could remind me, because like the people that showed up in this book, you might as well could say that it's almost an X-Force / X Factor kind of reunion going on here with a couple of them in particular, because you got Multiple Man, you got Strong Guy,
Right.
Domino. Now the rest of these folks like Wind Dancer, those are Wind Dancer, Shark Girl, those are kind of newer folks and whatnot, but nevertheless. And not associated with either of those groups that I think about it, but still, you kind of had that going on,
Right.
which was kind of fun to see. And that's why I said this was a surprise, because it wasn't a surprise that we knew this was coming, because we knew and we had talked about it before, but it was a surprise at how good this issue was.
Right.
As a potential Kliq of the week for me, and I believe Ethan Stephanie House.
Yes, same for me. I was just about to finish my thoughts with that. And just as a quick note, I did jump back to our copy of X-Force #2, and I can tell you that Domino is not currently on the squad.
Okay.
So it's good to see her in a different, because Domino had been in the pages of X-Force for a long time, especially in the last couple of iterations of the team,
Right.
especially during the Krakoa era. So it's good to see her in a different space.
Well, I said that's the most of the time. The most of the place that you would see Domino is with X-Force.
Mm-hmm.
So there was only one other time when she was running around with whatever that book Gail Simone was writing, that she was running around with some folks, but that wasn't an X-Force book.
Right.
And outside of that, yeah, that's pretty much that. So yeah, therein lies that. So we were talking before the show, and I think we talked about this when this book was announced, that it seemed as though they could be positioning one Alison Blaire, aka the Dazzler, as kind of at this particular time, because let's face it, this is not the first time they've kind of changed her look and whatnot to other
very
notable,
subtly, right?
Yes.
It's a very subtle change.
Yes, to other pop icons of whatever time she's been, like the Disco Dazzler, Olivia Newton Dazzler, to name a couple, which I guess those are two of the main ones. But regardless, in this particular case,
And then short hair Dazzler is kind of like I don't know if Madonna would be the right one, but it's kind of like that short hair 80s Dazzler is a little.
Well, that's what I was saying,
style.
Olivia. Yeah, that's what I was saying, Olivia Newton-John, because that would be closer to that, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah, it's a different hairstyle, but yeah, I get it.
Yeah. But in this particular case, it seems like they could be, and I don't know, if you see Jason Liu at New York, you can ask him if that was the thing, but you kind of, even if that wasn't the case, you kind of feel like there is a Taylor Swift vibe going on here with how they
even the art,
her.
like you said, even the art, from Rafael Luerero is, there's subtle touches that definitely I think are meant to invoke a current pop star whose profile is very high, because she happens to date an NFL player. No, I'm kidding. It's the other way around. His
but
profile is very high because he
exactly.
hates her.
But in a similar vein, and like, not just Taylor Swift, but other pop stars who have famously made, or just music folks in general who have made made songs about folks that they used to date. There is one in here. Well, I'm not going to tell you who it was. You can parse that out when you read it. But it wasn't the one that I was expecting to see about for a specific time. Maybe that's coming along. Who's to say? But yeah, the song that is prominent here is based off of an ex of Alison's, and I don't remember if I knew they actually dated.
I mean, I didn't know for sure, but I wasn't surprised.
Yeah, exactly. They're in that because I wasn't surprised, but I didn't know if that was actually ever a thing. And with either one of them, not that big of a surprise, like you said. So that is Dazzler 104. Looking forward to checking out the rest of this series because so far it started out pretty good, and hopefully it keeps itself up to that. If you're watching the video version, you can see the Disco Dazzler variant from Derek Chu, which Disco Dazzler does actually show up in this book, and then they kind of flip it a little bit. So. And with that, folks, we are going to get into rapid fire.
All righty, rapid fire review time.
I ain't got time to bleed.
I'll go first because I don't have too many left. First up for me is Spider Society number 204. It's written by Alex Segura with art by Scott Godlewski and Andre Genollet, colors by Matt Miller and Raul Angulo, and letters by our favorite lettering paisan, VC's Joe Caramagna. So the spiders who have been separated from the rest of the group have are on the run. They're trying to regroup and figure out what the goodness, we read so many comics, folks. It's hard to remember even what we've just read, but it's basically the like the Sinister 6 times infinity, because that's who the Spider Society is going up against, right? Like various alternate incarnations of the Sinister 6. What we find out though is that they're being led by an alternate version of Madam Web, and when they revealed it, I got a real kick out of it. I don't know if Roddykat read any spoilers about that, but the reveal of who the alternate Madam Web is a hoot. Definitely a hoot. Okay. It's fun, it's light to a certain extent, and it's just kind of interesting to see Marvel trying to continue to explore these various incarnations of alternate spider characters, because at some point they're going to pop up in an Across the Spider-Verse movie. Next up, and last for me, is X Factor number 2. It's written by Mark Russell with art by Bob Quinn, colors by Jesus Bertov, and letters again by our favorite lettering paisan, VC's Joe Caramagna. This is an interesting issue that follows up on the fact that Havoc and Polaris are now reintroduced into the X Factor, the current X Factor iteration, which is a government team, but very much a government team that's not for actual peacekeeping. It's not for actual law enforcement. It seems to be for some ulterior motives that may be linked to some kind of pseudo social media popularity, right? It's not to the same Upstart. It's not in that same vein, but it is there's something screwy going on with this concept of X Factor, that is. And Lorna is thinks that Havoc, Alex Summers, shouldn't be there, and Alex is just trying to do some good and kind of make up for what happened to the first incarnation of X Factor in issue number 1, which was led by one Warren Worthington III, and he got totally whacked in that first issue. So there's a lot of weird stuff going on in this X Factor. I don't know if I'm going to keep up with it for much longer, but I'm kind of curious to see how the first arc plays out. And that's it for me.
Gotcha. Apparently, we got a comment in the on the YouTube channel saying Mark Russell out all this stuff reads the same. So I don't know. I guess someone is sharing your or partially sharing. Well, not
Right.
necessarily sharing your opinion because you didn't say that because you've not read a whole lot of Mark Russell stuff that I know of. So
apparently, right, but apparently it might all read similar to what I'm reading now.
yeah, I don't know. I've read enough to I can't share that opinion because I think I can see where the person can say that on a couple of things that I've read, but not with this. So, but we'll see. Because I need to catch up on this to see what's going on. I don't need to, but regardless. So for myself, we're going to go to Destro, number 4 of 5. Written by Dan Waters, art by Andre Bresson, colors by Adriano Lucas, letters by Russ Wooten. So, the Crimson Twins make a play for Mars Industry because of information they thought they had. We find out who's been behind what we thought. Well, we find out who's behind the tussle, the put together tussle between Destro and the Crimson Twins, and it's not who we thought it was initially. Although that person shows up at the end of this, so therein lies something for this, and yeah, the things that come together for that GI Joe book definitely because some of the pieces are starting to come together. And the only thing, like I said last week with the Scarlet book, is like yeah, Destro and Scarlet are the only 2 books we have left before November, and GI Joe starting up proper. So I imagine at the end of both of these, we're going to get so, and Duke is already finished, so that part has already kind of been laid out. So we're probably going to get the last couple of pieces of things that are probably may potentially end up being in that G.I. Joe book. With the exception of is it? We'll talk about this again at the end of Scarlet because we know she's not going to be on the team, and they might be setting her up for something else, but we don't know this just yet. So that is probably the only thing that is not established. But looks at when that book ends, that's when we'll find that out. Next up, excuse me. Oh, something else I forgot to read, but I'll bring that up in a second. But it's a reprint of something of a book that I really liked. Batman, Superman, World's Finest, number 31. There we go. Yes, is tripping. Written by Mark Waid, art by Adrian Gutierrez. Excuse me, I keep butchering that name. Colors by Tamara Bonvillain and letters by Steve Wands. I'm sure this was a knowing reference to a certain Justice League International page, and I hope it is because the mention of One Punch, which should strike a chord to some longtime DC fans, would be something to smile about, but it is not in relation to that situation. But we get here Batman, Superman, and some Justice League members up against Eclipso, which I believe this is round 2 because I think they took care of him in an earlier arc, in which resulted in Batman and Superman doing a fusion dance that they recalled. I mean that they recalled in this particular issue. But this all leads to not outside of what happened in say Endgame or I think whatever Avengers at the beginning of Blood Hunt, where hey, there's a team member that ends up having to go for help because of what is going on, and they go to another noted long-standing team for help at the end of this, which brings in some other folks to help out in the situation against Eclipso. So and this is the start of this arc, and I'm sure, I don't know how long this arc is going to last, but I'm sure it's going to be like 4 or 5, just like the rest of them. Next up, soundbite for this, but it's probably just as well, because you can sing it once I say Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Saturday Morning Adventures continued number 17. Turtle Power.
Turtles in a half shell.
There we go. Story by Eric Burnham, art by Sarah Meyer, letters by Ed Dukeshire, and colors by Luis Antonio Delgado. Yes, that is the old way they have it in the on the page, folks. I didn't do that myself. Just in time for Halloween, Mona Lisa returns. If you are a long time 80s Turtles fan, you probably know who that is, because I pretty much do not, with the exception of reading them on this page. There is a Halloween. Starts in a Halloween-inspired arc, because there was a night at the museum style thing that is going on, in which Mona Lisa and Raphael ends up being a part of, while the other turtles and Master Splinter are away at a festival. But of course, the other turtles are pretty much going to get involved. Or possibly, I don't know, maybe not. Who's to say? They could be like, no, it's just Raphael and Mona Lisa trying to take care of this thing at this museum that has to do with a mummy and still mutant centric stuff, apparently, thanks to the origin story of the bad guy in that pops up here. So, but also cheeseburger, donut, pizza. I don't know. That comes up in a thing. Yeah, that comes up in relation to a thing. Hey, the pizza flavored ice cream also comes up in this. So yeah, that whole thing's a whole thing. Next book is Vengeance, number 105, written by Sabir Pirzada. You may or may not remember him from being the co-writer on the last couple of Ms. Marvel miniseries.
Right.
And also part of the writing staff on the Ms. Marvel show, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe so.
Yes. Art by Sean Damien Hill, letters by VC's Travis Lanham. So yeah, I'm just going to read off my notes here just for a second and say Scarecrow Vengeance. Apparently, Agent 70 reminded me that this character Vengeance that pops up here is an established character and not a new one, which I did not know.
Yeah, just a quick note. I did skim this book relatively thoroughly. I just didn't feel like remarking on it, so I'll chime in when I can. But I made sure to tell Roddykat that Vengeance was a character in the Ghost Rider books that that became prominent as I was starting to kind of go away from the Ghost Rider books. So that's why I have very little knowledge regarding the character.
Well, you got a little bit more than I do on that one. So, in true horror movies fashion, though, this Scarecrow Vengeance was just chilling, minding its own business until some horny teams come popping by, and and things happen and causes a whole brouhaha. And we do get the appearance of one Johnny Blaze, still a Ghost Rider, because it seems like this was set in the past. I'm not sure if this whole story is set in the past or just that one part. But I didn't see where there was any present, coming up. So I'm assuming this whole thing is still set in the past where he's still Ghost Rider.
Right.
I'm not sure. And as the name of the book will imply, I'm sure there is going to be some other spirits of vengeance, not just these two. Well, definitely they're going to show up. They just didn't show up in this particular issue yet. So. But yeah, there's another spirit of vengeance that is in need of some help with their host, and that's going to be the crux of this whole story, certainly, and who's ever behind whatever reasonings for they want the spirit. Last book for myself is excuse me. Ultimate X-Men number 7 was not a dramatic pause for effect.
Yeah.
Written and art by Peach Momoko, script adaptation by Zach Davison, whose name I forgot to put on here, and letters by VC's Travis Lanham. So this, if the name implies anything, yes, this is set in the Ultimate Universe, but it has nothing to do with what is going on with the other books at large. It does have to do with a certain X cult called the Children of Adam, and some other things that are going on, because this book has a couple of moving parts going on in here. We may or may not have been introduced to Psylocke. The names Viper, not just the names, but Viper actually shows up in this, and the name Emperor Sunfire has been dropped in this issue in relation to each other. And this is a quote only 80s kids will know, but want to see a dead body?
Oh no!
Something like that ends up something to that effect ends up being the case before the end of this, and a certain event happens at a festival that the kids are at the beginning of that might have to do with the stuff I said at the beginning, or one person in particular in relation to the thing I said at the beginning. And that, folks, is the all of my books Kliqs of the week.
Kliqs of the week.
So I do want to mention real quick, 'cause I know Agent 70 has his probably locked in at this point, but Batman Day is coming up, if I'm not mistaken. Isn't it tomorrow? Is it not tomorrow? Or is it soon? Regardless, I know Batman's getting a star on the Walk of Fame. We didn't put that in the news, but it's that thing. But they've been reprinting a lot of stuff for Batman Day. One of which is the Batman Elmer Fudd special from a few years back, which was one of my favorite books at the time. Because
I remember that. I remember that.
Mm-hmm. It was from the whole Looney Tunes DC crossover thing, where they brought the Looney Tunes characters into the DC universe.
Yeah, I remember that.
That was one of the better books. I believe that was also Jason Aaron who wrote that, if I'm not mistaken. I looked that up. No, Tom King. Okay, I was wrong. So, which, not a second, that makes a little bit more sense. But regardless, there is that stuff going on, and there's a couple of books that we didn't get to, like Gatchaman Galactor, which came out this week, and Thundercats Chitara came out this week because we didn't get copies of them, sadly. And yeah,
the Galactor book is number 2, right?
Correct.
Got it.
And also that's what I wanted to mention, because I didn't get a chance to catch up with this, but Star Wars Darth Vader ends this week with number 50, which means that both of the main Star Wars books have ended.
Right. So is that the final volume of Darth Vader? Because that obviously ends at Return of the Jedi, right?
Yes, but I don't think that this. I don't know if they're another volume has not been announced. Put it that way.
Right.
So once we hear about an announcement for the next volume of Star Wars, and I imagine we will at some point soon, we'll probably hear about that. And I suspect there'll probably be another volume coming in that, because like this is between. This whole volume was between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, but I'm pretty sure they could set it a little bit closer towards or in between Return of the Jedi. Right. So, who's to say?
No, of course, because there are always pockets in those timelines. That's the way they exploit it. That's exactly what they do. They exploit, certain blank spaces. That's the way writers look at it, that they think need to be filled in, and whether or not they should be or need to be, is left to be determined by the end of the, by how good the story is.
Right. But no, the reason why I laughed at that is because you said pockets, and it just reminded me of The Mandalorian.
Oh.
Because there was that one character that was like pockets of something or other that people memed for quite a while. But anyway, Kliqs of the week.
I thought you were gonna make a cable reference, but anyway.
No, not this time.
Well, that's really pouches, but anyway.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
So, you still mulling it over?
No, I'm pretty sure it's going to be Dazzler, number 1 of 4.
Nice.
I had a good time reading it, and the art was good too. So
yeah, indeed, I can agree with that. That down on the sheets. That is definitely a potential for me. Avengers definitely also a potential for me. You know what? This one was good, but this one was good because that the thing's just been what it is. Yeah. I'm also gonna go with Dazzler, number 1 of 4.
hey, look at that.
Because it was not. I guess I don't want to say it was surprisingly good, but it was. I guess it was a surprise that it was good as it was in what it was doing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the best way to say that, because like I said, I don't want to try to downplay the everything that's going on with, and it's just a matter of like, oh, okay. I wasn't expecting it to just be like, yeah, all right, this is some substance here. And with that, folks, as I put up the Godzilla cover for Dazzler, we're going to go into.
I gotta look that one up.
Yeah, it's all right.
I'm just curious.
It's amusing. The X-Men one was actually was cool because it looks like one of those Actually, I'll pull this up for folks.
That's Sam. Oh, that's Samney.
Yes. Wait, for which one? No, because
for the X-Men cover.
Yes.
That's Chris Samney. Oh yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, the X-Men cover is pretty cool. There you go. If you're watching the video version, you can see that. But the Dazzler one was pretty cool also. But I like the X-Men one.
Yeah, I got to take a look at the Dazzler one. I just gotta scroll up to it.
Yeah. So, and while he's doing that, we are going to go into the cinematic news. But first, an ad read.
That's an interesting Godzilla cover. Anyway, First ad read of the night is for Blue Apron's meal delivery service. Blue Apron, fresh ingredients and incredible recipes delivered weekly to your door. Skip the grocery store and make incredible meals at home with Blue Apron, always shipped free right to your home. And now the listeners of the Comic Book Chronicles can get $30 off your first Blue Apron order. To place your first order with $30 off and to help keep our show free for you, go to our network website at cspn.us. That's cspn.us. Then click on the Keep Our Podcasts free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down to the Blue Apron link and sign up for your first order. Blue Apron through cspn.us. Do it today. And now we get into the news.
That comment we got seems like it was from somebody we know, but I don't think it was. Anyway, cinematic news as we do about this time. Starting off with Kelsey Grammer confirms conversations, in quotes, about Beast returning after the Marvels. So I'm pretty sure he was probably talking about that second season of Frasier that is about to come out, or they were probably talking to him in relation to, and this popped up. And I was right. So Comic Book was talking to them about that, and he says that there's nothing to talk about. But see, what I do know is that there was a huge sort of outburst when I showed up at the end of the Marvels. I guess it was the response was really it was unexpected. There's been some response, but it was pretty overwhelming, and so there are conversations. Obviously, he can't say too much, even if he knew anything else, because Marvel snipers.
Right.
So, and you can hear the eggs are calling, toss sampled, toss. Nah, it's pretty. But anyway, you know this Frasier theme. Scrambled eggs all over his face.
Yeah, tossed salad and scrambled eggs or something
Yes,
like that.
exactly. Because I screwed up the first part, and that's what missed the second part. I suspect we'll probably see him again.
I would not be surprised.
Yes. So don't worry yourselves, folks. Next up though,
Venom. The Last Dance is finally introducing a character who is apparently the coolest part of the symbiote's backstory. That is IGN editorializing. So the time has finally come to introduce the god of the symbiotes, because apparently in the final trailer for Venom: The Last Dance, which just recently arrived, this is the final time we'll see, apparently, Tom Hardy as struggling reporter turned kooky superhero Eddie Brock. So this is the ending of the Venom trilogy. So apparently this final act in the trilogy delves deeper into the origins of the Venom symbiote, meaning the series will finally explore the most fascinating aspect of Venom's mythology, which is null.
Okay. Editorializing, I feel, but yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
But also 3 Venom movies too many. I said it. I
was gonna say I didn't object.
Yeah. And also there's been a shitload of Venom books out in the last couple of weeks because of that whole Venom War thing. That's just, it's granted, I know it's me, but hey, and probably some part of 8 to 70, but still, that's all. Ugh. The most amusing part of this was Ryan Stegman, who drew and co-created Null. When it was out there on Twitter, was like, yes, I co-created Null. No, I did not know. Sounded like he didn't know about that this was going to this would happen. But also made some joke about now being able to afford some item of note that he was talking about. I'm like, yeah, sure, I bet. It was a cute tweet. They don't have it in this article though. So next up though, not necessarily comic book created, but it's something should be concerned about anyway. Unless there ends up being an Inside Out comic book, and there probably could be. Inside Out was the hit Pixar needed, but the layoff employees who crunched on it are still holding. So yeah, we just found out recently that after Inside Out 2 came out, a bunch of folks got laid off. Excuse me, from Pixar, which is always a terrible thing in industry because there's been a bunch of layoffs on a lot of places. But apparently, those folks, from what I've been seeing on Twitter, they were not allowed to go and get their stuff from the office, even because quote unquote management was like, yeah, it might make the other folks feel bad or something or other like that. Which, you know, Blue Cross Blue Shield apparently is not the only one who does some stupid stuff like that. But regardless, the studio laid off. There were 175 folks laid off, or 14% of the staff back in May, and and the laid off employees are unable to benefit from a bonus for Inside Out's 2's success. That was the other part of this. So basically, they're not getting anything. They got laid off and not really getting much of anything from it, from their hard work, and that's fucked up. And it says here that the movie made $1.6 billion at the worldwide box office. So Pixar and Disney, that's a goddamn shame.
Yep.
Next up,
Peter Renaday, the original voice of Master Splinter in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, died at the age of 89. Renaday had a number of roles, actually, in TV, video games, and even theme park attractions. So he was best known for originating the voice of Master Splinter in the first animated Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle series.
Yeah, this was supposed to be in last week's episode, but I forgot to put it in. Plus, we already had a couple of other deaths that we ended up talking about anyway. So yeah,
right.
Including one later on, which is probably a lesser note. Well, it'll be a note to some folks anyway. Anyway, but yeah, apparently this dude had done a lot. It says here Transformers, Batman to animated series, Batman Brave and the Bold, Samurai Jack, Animaniacs, Godzilla series. So yeah, he was up and around through the 90s. Dragon Age Origins. I know that's Dragon Age is a big thing right now. Odin and Namor and Marvel Ultimate Alliance, which man, I need to play. I hadn't played that in a minute.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, rest in peace. I don't think it says he passed from. It does not, but yeah. But rest in peace. Next up, actually, I'm gonna take these two. They are slightly related. Svenguli's Halloween Bonanza from MeTV is going to be starting up this month. And the reason why I bring that up, because we're heading into October, which is, you know what it is. You know what time it is.
It's fast approaching. I can't believe we're already, goodness gracious. Today's already September, wow.
Yeah. Halloween related stuff. Like I said with that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles book is it's already starting up. So let's see. Yeah. So Svengoolie, if you are of a certain age, you know who that is. Think Elvira, but not really. Let's see. Apparently, there's a character here named Gwengoolie, which that's kind of funny. I know of Svengoolie, but I've never really watched any of that stuff. So I think he was a dude who would come up and had a show and would introduce like scary movies and stuff like that. Not unlike what Elvira did and does. So. But apparently, like because of Halloween is coming up in October, there's going to be a month of stuff going on, including let's see, House of Svengoolie Cartoon Bonanza, which is an hour special featuring spooky themed Looney Tunes cartoons. Labyrinth is going to play, and the Dark Crystal during the month, and that's. Oh, yeah, and then there's a list of stuff that's going to play in relation to Svengoolie and the movies and other shows, because there's going to be more Halloween inspired like shows from like old sitcoms and whatnot. But in relation to that, which is the next story, MeTV Toons is debuting the Superfriends.
Oh, nice.
Yes. And also along with that House of Svengoolie event and the Bonanza thing, so there's going to be a Scooby-Doo Sunday special hosted by the House of Svengoolie. Again, like the Superfriends are going to be kicking off there. You're going to have the Frankenstones, the Frankenstones episodes of, I guess, of the Flintstones and Casper. A whole lot of Scooby-Doo, because of course there is. The Addams Family is going to have a marathon because there was that cartoon, as well as some other stuff that they're doing, which you can find in the show notes. And this looks like, so starting on October 13th, but the weekend of the 13th, and then the next couple of weekends is when they're doing a lot of this stuff apparently. And the Super Friends is going to start in prime time on October 6th with a block from 8 to 11. So if you have an antenna and you got MeTV Toons and you can pick it up, hey, you're watching some Super Friends, even though I know you can get it on Max at this point for the time being. But yeah, why wouldn't you? Next up, though.
Next up, so we're getting to some New York Comic Con news. Roddykat and I were just talking about the dates, and because I have to start figuring out my calendar for that part of October. And New York Comic Con 2024 will see Paramount Plus beam down Star Trek Section 31 and Star Trek Lower Decks. These will be highlighted during a panel taking place on Saturday, October 19th. The Star Trek Universe panel takes place from 2:30 to 4 o'clock Eastern. And while Section 31 and Lower Decks are the main highlights, Paramount Plus hints at, quote, exciting reveals and surprises, unquote.
Yeah. So Cool. Like we already know that last season of Lower Deck's coming, and we've already seen a teaser trailer from that. We don't know too much about that Section 31 movie outside of Michelle Yeoh's involvement and
Right.
her character being from the Discovery. So that's cool. I was going to mention something else, but it's not worth it at this point. Speaking of things that is not worth it, John Cena to star in a new movie based on popular Mattel toy line. It's not even Matchbox. Excuse me, it's not even Hot Wheels, folks. It's Matchbox.
Okay.
Yeah. Per the Hollywood Reporter, Apple Original Films, which, sure, that seems like the right place for this, I guess. Let's see. Has landed Matchbox, which hails from Skydance and Mattel Films. Sam Hargrave, who directed the Chris Hemsworth-led Extraction movies for Netflix, is attached to helm the live-action movie. Why David Coxhall from The Family Plan, which was John Cena's movie, and Jonathan Tropper from The Adam Project, which I don't know whose movie that was. Actually, that sounds familiar. Was that no, I was about to say Adam Sandler, but that might not be the case. Anyway, are co-writing the screenplay while the plot details are being kept under the hood. Ha 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 ha. CBR. Appearing in a car-focused movie will be familiar territory for Cena because, as we know, where he was in a similar situation.
Right.
So yeah, there is that, folks. A very unnecessary movie. Another very unnecessary movie based off of a toy property is coming. Next up.
So, Transformers franchise producer Lorenzo D. Bonaventura provided a few updates in a recent interview with Collider, teasing his plans for the Transformers series in both live action and animation. So, as for animation, D. Bonaventura says they're planning on a sequel to Transformers 1, depending on how it does at the box office, and it's going to exist completely separately from whatever they do live action. And with regards to the live action, D. Bonaventura confirmed that the next live action Transformers film following Rise of the Beast will be the G.I. Joe crossover that was officially revealed at CinemaCon earlier this year. Okay. And that movie would hit theaters in 2025 or 2026. It's still early for that one, though.
Indeed. Alien Romulus is about to hit a scarily impressive box office milestone, according to this article. $100 million domestically, which, given this article is probably like a week or two old, probably made that mark. But at the time this was written, it was at $97 million domestically, and apparently has become the second highest grossing movie in the entire Alien franchise. So good on that. Good on that movie. I haven't seen it, but I've seen some people that I know who did. They seem to like it, but they like a lot of things. So next up.
So this is a funny story. Unpacking the 3 rules Godzilla can never break in film. So, we know that Godzilla is celebrating 70 years of history in the movie world this year. And let's see here. In a surprising new release, Toho has revealed 3 key rules that must never be broken in Godzilla movies that originate in Japan. So let's see here. Where did they publish this? Oh, in a recent interview, Tetsuya Yoshikawa, who's been dubbed the Godzilla Room director, revealed 3 key rules about Godzilla that must be adhered to when making Toho movies, focusing on the King of Monsters. So this is in a recent interview. The first is that Godzilla cannot be shown eating people. So of course that doesn't mean he doesn't kill anymore. He kills lots of people.
Mm-hmm.
Just doesn't eat them. Right? 2, Godzilla can never completely die. And we kind of, see hints of this in every Godzilla movie that seems to show Godzilla biting the bullet, but then there's a way for Godzilla to come back.
Radiation's
and 3, what's that?
Radiation's a powerful thing.
Right. And 3, Godzilla cannot talk.
Godzilla talk.
Right. That's very funny. But anyway, what's next?
Also, they mentioned the exception to that rule in being Chibi Godzilla, which some of us would say Godzuki, but you'd have to give a certain vintage for that one.
Right.
Which brings us into the anime corner.
Okay. Let's see here. What's the story? Oh, Bleach. Okay, let's just go here.
That works, even though we didn't get a chance to read that this week. But that's okay, though. So,
add another story.
I added 2 other stories real quick. Bleach Anime unleashes 20th anniversary video and art. So yeah, next month, October 2024, marks the 20th anniversary of the Bleach anime adaptation, which is slightly goes back to what we were saying about anniversaries happening, because there was a couple of other ones that was like, hey, this thing is 30 and 40, and I'm like, oh Jesus. But anyway, it also marks the debut of the next arc of Bleach, 1000-Year Blood War. To warm up for this 1-2 punch, new artwork has been released that celebrated 20 years of the Shinigami action. There is a trailer, and the artwork is being shown right now if you're watching the video version. And sometimes you should, because hey, you might want to check this out. But it'll be in the show notes, so to check out at your leisure. Next up.
So apparently, A1 Pictures' highly anticipated Solo Leveling Season 2 has announced the surprise theatrical release for Season 1 of the anime, in addition to the first look at Season 2 later this fall. So apparently, in a since-deleted post on Twitter/X, Solo Leveling DNC Official announced that Season 2 Arise from the Shadow will hold a theatrical screening titled Reawakening on November 28th in Korea, and November 29th in Japan. The screening will showcase a special edition of Season 1, followed by the first 2 episodes of Season 2.
Yeah, and this picture denotes that there is possibly more theatrical dates to come. So maybe there's going to be one here in the States.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see.
We'll see. Next up, though, Netflix teases new cyberpunk anime with CD Projekt Red. In new promo, and I believe this came from Netflix Geeked thing that was from this weekend. That's why I wanted to just go ahead and get some of that out of the way, because I forgot to put some of it in the show notes. That was pertinent, but I need to actually watch this. The team behind Cyberpunk and Cyberpunk Edge Runners. Well, they talk about Cyberpunk Edge Runners, which I know a lot of people like, and apparently there may possibly be either a sequel to Cyberpunk Edge Runner, or at the very least a return to Night City, and which is all CD Projekt Red and Netflix teased. So we don't know if it's probably going to be the former, but it could be something different because they've been teasing that for a minute now. Next up,
Netflix's One Piece Season 2 casts Joe Manganiello as Crocodile. This is the live action One Piece. So we know who Joe Manganiello is.
Mm-hmm.
And he is taking on the character of Crocodile, the warlord of the sea and main villain of the Alabasta arc in One Piece.
From Deathstroke to One Piece. Now, the man's a geek. We established, pretty hard at this point, but it was still funny to see. Like, One Piece. I guess I shouldn't be surprised, but yeah, the man's a big nerd. Also a big dude, but hey.
Yeah. He's both.
Yeah. So nobody's going to question him about it. Actually, we're just going to keep this going because technically we're getting into Toy Corner.
Okay.
Boy, howdy. Studio Ghibli, or Ghibli, I know that's, I don't be fucking with people saying that, but Studio Ghibli quietly drops a free-to-play game with Totoro. So apparently It is. This is over in Japan, so I don't know if it's going to come over here. But if you're watching the video version, it looks like either Shoots and Ladders or Life or Candyland, I guess, as this article is saying. But it is not an actual digital game. It is a board game.
Right, it's a tabletop game.
Yes, and there's a free PDF that you can get out of this article. So that you can download and print at home. So that's cool. Okay. I thought this was, when I first read this, I thought this was like a digital mobile game or something, because usually that's what free to play games end up being in the case. So if you are a Studio Ghibli fan and like board games, hey, this is right up your alley. I'm pretty sure you're probably already aware of it. Next up.
Oh wow, yeah. So this is the Ghibli Park board game. Okay,
that's cool.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's an interesting map too. Like you said, it's like Candyland / Life.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Alrighty. Next up, Avatar: The Last Airbender now has a deck building card game.
Yep.
Yeah, Roddykat's online, waiting to buy his deck. So,
you know me kind of well.
So, yeah. Let's see. What is the pricing on this?
It's $50. This was in the first thing.
Oh, in the first, I scrolled right past it.
Yeah.
So the officially licensed Avatar deck builder is available now for $50. Okay.
Yeah. If you're watching the video version, you can see me. Even though Amazon is a sponsor, but you can see me going through the pictures that they have on Amazon of this box, which actually looks not bad. I legit am curious about it. I know there are bigger Avatar fans than I am, and I am a pretty good one. And I do love my deck building games, so it is a potential buy. And I'm not gonna say I'm actually going to do it, but it is potential. Next up, though, we're really getting into some hard. Oh no, actually, we're getting some comic book news. I thought I had put all that stuff together.
Oh, so we're in comic book news?
Yeah, for a second.
Alrighty.
That was my fault for not moving the stuff like I said. I thought I was going to do, because you'll understand why in a few moments. But Marvel announces new World War II set series starring Ghost Rider 44 and Wolverine, because of course, Marvel's Hell Hunters #1. So is the name Hell Hunters specifically is the name of the book. So the likes of Nick Fury, Bucky, I think it's Bucky. Nope, it's not Bucky. But it just looked like Bucky. Let's see. So, spinning out of the pages of Philip Kennedy Johnson's Monster Field run on Incredible Hulk, the 5-issue limited series, which is going to be out December 15th, teams Kennedy Johnson with Immortal Hulk artist Adam Gorham, and will reveal the origins of World War II's Spirit of Vengeance, who raised hell on the battlefields before Johnny Blaze, U.S. Sergeant Sal Romero, a.k.a. Ghost Rider 44. And like I mentioned, it is Bucky. Okay, so Nick Fury, Bucky, Peggy Carter, and according to this, the multiversal variant Steven Rogers, aka Soldier Supreme, and of course Wolverine, who noted here fought Hydra alongside Captain America, Bucky, and Nick Fury back in the day. But yeah, it says Hell Hunters is the forgotten story of the toughest, bloodiest, scary, and most badass squad of Nazi killers to come out of World War II, according to this article. And I'm not sure who the quote is from, but I'm going to assume it's either Philip Kennedy Johnson or Adam Gorham. Next up.
Okay, so this article from Screen Rant explores something that I talked about in last week's issue of Wolverine #1. And it talks about where this is all going under the leadership of Saladin Ahmed. And I was I kind of hinted at something, a metal that had some mystical elements to it, some thought processes of its own, going after the adamantium that's in Cyber. Right, Cyber is one of Wolverine's enemies, and apparently that's going to continue as part of this, the first several issues of this opening arc. So, there's some speculation in this article that the adamantium in Wolverine is going to be targeted by a sentient metal, and we'll see how it goes. It could be something that's actually based in mythology, which is an interesting hypothesis put forth by this article. I actually kind of I kind of got a kick out of reading this. This is, I mean, I'm speed reading it, but still.
Shout out to Ugard from Wu-Tang Clan. Golden
Right.
Arms. You know what the deal is. Cable is back on his own X-Men solo comic that sends him to a dystopian future. And I remember getting a comment on Reddit about, like, isn't he from one? So why are you putting him back into that? Which, sure, valid, I guess. Cable Love and Chrome will be created by writer David Pepose, who's, of course, writing Dynamite's Space Ghost title currently, and artist Mike Henderson, known for his work on characters such as Daredevil, Deadpool, and Venom. And it will send Cable into the future where he'll become embroiled in a conflict in a city known as Salvation Bay. And then it just goes into some flavor text, and I guess according to this, the techno-organic volume will play a part of this. And stakes is high. You know them stakes is high. Do we have a date for? January. 5 issues long. I said that part already, but January is when we're going to get this miniseries. Next up.
All right. So anyone that remembers, and this was actually teased in X-Men 97, if anyone actually remembers a couple of issues in Uncanny X-Men, this is specifically during the Jim Lee era, where the team, the bulk of the team was in space, reuniting with Professor X and creating that great cover from X-Men 275. But if you look at the other pages, like the left side and the right side of that threefold cover, you also see characters involved in a storyline that was happening at the exact same time in the Savage Land. Those characters were Rogue, Gambit, and Kazar. And so Rogue and Magneto's steamy jungle flirtations will return in Rogue, the Savage Land by Tim Seeley and Zulema Lavina. And this is going to come out in well, this is part of the solicitations for January, I presume.
Yes.
Yeah, January 2025.
Yes. Folks watching the video version will note that looking at a particular cover of said book, which I'm sure that particular cover is going to sell quite well. Okay, well,
are we looking at the Douterman or the Kari Andrews, which is very much in the vein of Jim Lee?
The Kari Andrews.
Yeah, that's very much in the vein of Jim Lee from that era. Like Kari Andrews has his own style, but when he's doing his homage to the 90s comics, it's incredible because you can still tell it's not a blatant ripoff, but it's in the style.
Right. It's a pretty good cover. That all said. The next cover is the Russell Dauterman that Agent 70 mentioned. Also, I'm sure that one will probably sell quite well. And the last one is from Nick Bradshaw. Seeing Stone, Rogue in various positions.
Yeah.
I'm surprised there was not a J. Scott Campbell one because I thought for a second that first one was, but I noticed that it was a little bit different to be his. It was different enough that I noticed that anyway. Next up, speaking of Marvel and, well, not necessarily solicits, but first look at the Ultimate titles from December. from Marvel. We have Ultimate Black Panther number 11. We got that cover. Wait, is it also Ultimate Universe One Year In? There we go. That was the first one, which is the covers right there with Nick Fury, with OG Nick Fury at that. Which I guess that's not a surprise. Probably should be, given that where the Ultimate Universe is based off of, but we're good regardless. The Ultimate Black Panther cover, Ultimate Spider-Man cover. I do hope there's a callback to that Christmas song, given that. But Ultimate X-Men cover and the Ultimates, of course. So there you go. Next up.
So apparently, Ultimate Black Panther number 8 is set to, or has already set it, or is definitely setting up the debut of a new version of Doctor Strange for this Ultimate Universe. I am so far behind on that book.
Yeah, I didn't read the. Actually, wait, no, I think I did read 7. I just didn't read 8 from last week. But yeah, where this is spoilers from, but and that's why I didn't put it in last week, because it would have been a spoiler. So yeah, there is that, and it still kind of is, but I didn't read too far into this article. Shout out to our boy Tim Adams.
There it is.
Speaking of Tim, Marvel teases its replacements for the Young Avengers, and this was the thing we had talked about, and I was hoping wasn't the case, but apparently it is. So it seems like they're setting up that group from Spider-Woman, the Assembly, to be the next kind of Young Avengers type group, or at least Marvel is, according to this, because the Assembly is going to get a book, I believe a miniseries, in January. And if you're watching the video version, you can see the poster that says "Change the World, New Heroes Assembled, January 2025." Yeah, according to this article in Marvel's press release, it says, "Stay tuned this week to learn about a new Marvel comic series coming in January. The only other piece of information is a piece of teaser art, which is what I just mentioned, with several young heroes superimposed in the background of the letters, which it is. While they may look new, we've actually seen and met these characters before, and that is from the aforementioned Spider-Woman series that just ended recently." So
they're not calling them the new champions.
They are not. It doesn't seem to be, and they're not calling them the Young Avengers also. And Tim's article asked the question, are they replacing the Young Avengers? And they talk about that. But you can read the article for yourself to find out what he thinks about that. His position on that, or whatever position is on that. I should say, may not be his, but it's probably his. I don't know. We would have to ask him that. Next up, though.
Marvel transforms Mickey Mouse and friends into the Fantastic Four. Okay, so Mickey, Minnie, Goofy, and Donald adapt Marvel's first family next year. Okay, so these are part of the what ifs, and so this is Marvel and Disney what if Mickey and friends become the Fantastic Four. So Mickey is the leader of the FF and has Reed Richards' stretching powers. Minnie is the Invisible Woman. Goofy is the Human Torch. Gosh. And Donald Duck is the Thing. Goodness.
I feel like they should have flipped those last two, but it one way or the other makes sense, I guess.
Yeah. You know what? You know what's funny? I picked up the what if what was it? What if Donald Duck became Thor or something like that?
Yes.
Right. And I realized it's like that Walt Simonson drew the cover, and in the credits it says "After me" because it's literally him
mimicking his own work. Yes,
right, mimicking his own work with the Beta Ray Bill cover from that from his first issue as a writer and artist on Thor.
Yes, I remember seeing that cover, and I do remember seeing that. That was kind of funny. That's cool.
Yeah, I picked up a hard copy of it just because I was like, oh, this, maybe I'll get Walt to sign it at New York Comic Con.
I was about to say, of course you did. I still didn't. But you haven't read it, because I think I asked you that when we.
I never cracked it open.
Yeah, because I think I asked you that was last week or week before last when that came out. So okay, cool. But this Making Friends Become the Fantastic Four goes on sale January 8th, 2025. By the way. Next up, we get into some Toy Corner with Marvel Legends. Giant Man HasLab is ready to ship for those who are bought in on that.
Right.
So people have gotten emails to that fact, and yeah, they want to make sure, at that time they want to make sure people's addresses are correct so that they can send the stuff. And by the way, I'm gonna take this time on a side note. If you backed the Skybound compendiums for G.I. Joe Real American Hero, the Marvel series, you may want to check your emails because they have sent the emails about the digital copies of the compendiums out within the last week or two. So you don't want to miss out if you did back that, at least that part of it. So next up.
Alrighty. I'm just clicking through the Giant Man photos.
Oh yeah, I guess I should have done it real quick. Hang on, back that up
It's all
real
right.
quick. You won't let me do that. That's fine. Right now I'm talking to the thing. But yeah, you can see. There we go. Bap. Not the snap. The boots, the faces, the torso. Yep. Side. Slippity slide. There we go. Photos. If you need one. Right. That one with all the Avengers. No wasp though. Anyway, next up.
All right, so this is just an article that goes through unboxing and reviews of two recent 85th anniversary figures. One of them being the Astonishing X-Men Wolverine, and the other being the Superior Spider-Man with the extra appendages. And I'll tell you that I do own the Wolverine, the Astonishing X-Men Wolverine. I'm still on the fence about getting the Superior Spider-Man. It's kind of like the same thing with Hydra Cap. I kind of want to get Hydra Cap so I can have regular Cap punching his lights out, and I want to get Superior Spider-Man just to have OG Peter knocking his lights out.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you can click through this. These are cool figures. They're a little bit more expensive. A slightly higher price point, but they're quality figures. Well done for the anniversary.
Yeah. Next up, though, Walmart exclusive Marvel Legends series retro Quicksilver figure coming in October. Let's see. So retro Quicksilver will be up for pre-order today, actually, as of we're recording, on the 19th. Let's see. It says likely during the next excuse me, sorry. Oh wait, the figure will be going up for pre-order in October, but it's on pre-order this week in international market. There we go. So let's see, he will be available exclusively in Walmart in October. This article is postulating that it could be announced during Walmart's collector-thon, whenever that happens. So yeah, if you're overseas, you can get them now. Or you can pre-order now. If you're here in the States like we are, you're just going to have to wait a month, weirdly enough. And there are the images of Retro Pietro. Next up.
So pre-orders have gone up for the Secret Wars Marvel Legends figures. I kind of missed out on a few, through one of our sponsors, where I'm probably going to just knock out the rest eventually, although this page does have links. So yeah, the ones that I really want are currently unavailable on one of our sponsors, but I should be able to get it through some of the other some of the other sources. But this wave is actually pretty cool. I'm thinking of getting most of the wave. I'm still on the fence about the Spidey. I'm probably going to lean against getting the Iron Man, but everyone else is probably a purchase. It's pretty cool because we don't have Beyonder. We don't have any version of the Beyonder. We don't have any other version of Titania. That's probably the only Titania we're ever going to get. So definitely want to get those two, and then get the Shattered Shield Cap. maybe and I think the Wolverine are the highlights. We already have multiple black suit Spider-Man. I don't know. I mean, this one is whatchamacallit, pinless. So that's obviously a big selling point for a lot of people. But I don't know. It's if that's what you want.
This packaging is taking me back because I remember the original, as I'm sure you do as well.
I do too. I bought them. I bought them off a peg in the toy store. I had to talk my parents into it.
I don't think I did.
I absolutely did. They had that shield with the flipping hologram.
Mm-hmm. So, and I don't know if these ones do that. It doesn't seem as that, but I'm also looking at a, yeah, I don't think it doesn't. And as a matter of fact, I feel like there's been some hubbub about that part. But I don't know. But they do have the shield that just
the hubbub is that it shows Tony Stark as Iron Man, but the Iron Man that was in Secret Wars was actually Jim Rhodes.
Well, there is that, but that wasn't where the hubbub was. But yes, I can see that actually being cause for some hubbub, though, if we're being honest.
Yeah.
Because yes, that is absolutely right. But I think
I like the smirking Wolverine. That's actually kind of cool.
Here, let me see if I can get to the picture of it. There's Spidey, and the packaging, the shield. That's a weird looking Peter, but okay.
Yeah, the smirking Wolverine is kind of cool.
There's Cap, or maybe it does have the. Okay, no, it does have the hologram shield. Looks like. Okay, I stand corrected.
Yeah, each one do. Each one does.
Yeah. Okay, I thought they did not do that. There's the Beyonder. The Beyonder is probably worth it. There's the Titania. Yeah. There's the Wolf. Yep. Alrighty, next up. Hasbro CEO says all of his mates are, now I want you to listen to this very carefully. Hasbro CEO says all of his mates are using AI for their D&D games, which is apparently a clear sign that we need to be embracing it. And I know this, speaking of hubbub, had gotten some hubbub from D&D players. Because first of all, the Hasbro D&D, I mean, the Hasbro CEO, who's probably a rich out of church, who's and whatsoever, calling for use for AI and putting people out of jobs potentially. But okay. But yeah, and all of it, and any of his friends are probably also rich CEOs or whatnot. So you kind of take that for what it is. And it's just sad that AI, which could be used for so many other better things, is being used for this and potentially putting people out of jobs. So I know there are people who are not happy about this. So, and rightly so. But anywho's next up.
I'm trying to do this pre-order thing, and now it looks like the pre-orders are sold out for a couple of these figures, which is annoying.
Would you like me to take this next one, Dan?
No, I'm just gonna circle back. It's just annoying. Pre-orders are pre-orders. You should be able to get some of these figures when they come out for retail. Let's see here. What are we up to?
Yeah, Joe Classified.
Yes, G.I. Joe Classified 2025 wave is up for order at Hasbro Pulse. So the new wave of figures that includes Leatherneck and Daltone, Cobra's Dreadnoks Xandar, and a Cobra Saw Trooper, and you get a new deluxe heavy duty with gear and Law and Order 2-pack. Okay.
Yeah.
That Leatherneck looks pretty good. I like that you could take the hat off.
Yeah. Dalton. Oh no, that's not Dalton. That's I thought it was Dalton. That is another neck. Because I think they already have.
Yeah, Dalton's next to him. Yeah.
Oh, so that is okay. Yes, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah, because Leatherneck is the traditional Leatherneck has the Marine Corps cap.
Mm-hmm.
But he can take the hat off.
But the Dalton,
that's my understanding.
Yeah, no, yes. But the Dalton kind of looks similar in the face. So
yeah, a little bit. The mustache is different.
Yeah, a little bit. But yeah, there's the Saw Trooper and Xandar. There's Law and Order and Heavy Duty. So there you go. But going along with that, folks, hey, how about a mass device? So, according to this article, PulseCon 2024 is in the books, left us with one massive and dangerous question. What if G.I. Joe classified the hunt for the mass device, or what is, excuse me. So this article is pretty much speculating if whether they're going to make an actual mass device, which that'd be funny. Or
that would be actually really cool if they made that like a Build-A-Figure.
Right, because there's an image up here. Oh, actually, yeah, these are images. I guess I assume these are images from the show that they.
No, this is a custom.
Oh, this is a custom. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we have attached images of custom. Okay, yeah. So that's a custom mass device. Okay, gotcha. I was wondering about that because you would think it would have heard an announcement such as that. But this is basically speculating whether something like that would happen, whether they would actually do a real mass device or something related to Cobra Island, being a specific retailer, a Target exclusive. But yeah, or another Build-A-Figure mass device, or a Build-A-Figure mass device, like Agent 70 was saying, which is this is postulating. They don't know,
right?
And we don't know, but I would be lying. I don't really collect any G.I. Joe stuff, but I would probably get the mass device. It depending on how much it is, I would probably do it.
That's funny.
Probably no Dr. Vandermeer, but that would probably be if they did that, it'd probably be a stretch goal with a Dr. Vandermeer alongside. Who showed up in one of the G.I. Joe in one of the comic books, actually. I think it was Cobra Commander. Anyway, next up.
My gosh, G.I. Joe Wrath of Cobra official release date trailer. So you can see some gameplay in this, and it looks very much, because it's a side-scrolling beat 'em up. This looks very much like it's inspired by Turtles in Time. Very much inspired by Turtles in Time.
I can say with some authority that it is definitely, because there was a demo of this a while back that I played, and I think it's probably still out there. It might be even on the Comic Book Chronicles channel. I can't remember of this when I played the demo. So it was a little stiff, but yeah, it definitely played like one of those. So I was looking forward to seeing a little bit more of this and whether they did anything more with that, because it had potential. It definitely had some potential.
It looks like fun.
It was it was definitely fun. It was just like,
all right. So it's going to be released on Steam on September 26th. Wow. Yes. And console versions coming soon.
Yes. So yeah, next week. Depending on how much it is, actually, it doesn't say here, but it'll probably say end the thing. Might check this out a little bit more, because it like I said, it was fun, and it was it had some neat things about it, but it was a little stiff in places. The Ghostbusters and other spooky additions are coming to Magic the Gathering, because of course there are. A trio of new Secret Lair drops are coming to Magic the Gathering on September 30th. So if you're watching the video version, excuse me, good lord, what's going on? You can see the Slimer cards and a Slimed card with Venkman and Slimer. Also coming, let's see, there's a Ghostbusters set, and also a Chucky set with Bride of Chucky. Okay, so yeah, those are the 3 sets that are coming to Secret Lair. 1 or 2 of these. I would. I feel like if you've been around here long enough, you probably already know. Standard editions each drop will be $29.99, $30 for the regular version, and 4 versions are $40. So yeah, if you are interested in that, you can check those out you can check those out on September 30th, because chances are those are probably going to go fairly fast. So you probably want to get into those early. And yep, there's that article I was expecting to see. Next up, though,
Takara Tomy Missing Link G1 RC and Sunstreaker revealed. Okay, so these are reveals of some of these Missing Link toys. This is from these are G1 figures. Okay, so you get G1 RC. And, this is from Takara Tomy's TF40 Expo. Okay. And then you also get G1 Sunstreaker. This is a prototype.
Yes. which I feel like we asked about. I asked about that in the last couple of weeks. So, um, there you go. But yeah, that'll be cool if they actually, if and or when they actually make those. Actually, before we push on to more comic book news, let me just drop this one thing in here, really, and then I'll do the next piece. Um, not the one piece, but so Batman Day is coming up on the 21st. And with that, Batman Day 2024 DC Multiverse figures drop. Noel, Silver Age, Neo Gothic, and Batglider. So all of those are Batman figures that are going to be on pre-order on September 20th, according to this, around 12 p.m. Eastern from places. We don't. It is one of our sponsors, but the other place I'm sure is a link to, not one of our sponsors. But yeah, if you were looking for some Batman figures for that day, while he gets a star on the Walk of Fame, there you go. But the next story we're going into with more comic book news is we get a first look at Starscream's secret origin in Transformers number 13. Secret origin. So apparently, said Transformers 13 kicks off a 2-issue Starscream origin story because we knew he was coming back at some point after his after he got yeeted out, thanks to Soundwave. But let's see, it's going to be an order story featuring art by Jason Howard and will hit comic stores October 9th. So yeah, if you don't know, Starscream got booted out of the Decepticons, like I said, thanks to Soundwave, and it was left for dead. And of course he made it. I mean, of course he's living. But and there's a bunch of variant covers here, of course, and this article is already going through them, so I don't have to. But yeah, look forward to that coming soon, very very soon. Next up.
All right, so some additional signings to help promote the launch of GI Joe #1 by Joshua Williamson have been announced. So originally we had spoken on the show about the exclusive screening of GI Joe the movie on November 13th at Universal Cinema AMC in Hollywood. That's open exclusively to Skybound insiders, and there is going to be a signing prior to that by Joshua Williamson at Things from Another World on Universal City Walk Hollywood. That's open to the public. And he's doing 2 more signings the next day at Collector's Paradise in North Hollywood, also open to the public. And 2 days later, flying all the way over to Annapolis in Maryland at Third Eye Comics and Hobbies. That's open to the public.
Ride that wave, baby boy. November 13th is when the book comes out proper, so yeah, he's going to be busy that week. Next up, some sad news. Carl Moline of Route 666 and Buffy the Vampire Slayer Frey fame. Apparently, he was the artist on both of those and co-created Malaka Frey from the Vampire. Oh, he was that who was the Vampire Slayer of the future with Josh Whedon, as well as CrossGen's Route 666 with Tony Bedard. He has passed away at the age of 51. Gee, same age.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Moline, apologies, has been dealing with a number of health issues in recent years, according to this article. And then it goes into his comics journey. So rest in peace. Rest in peace. Oh, he did a librarian book. That's cool. But yeah, rest in peace. Next up.
Oh, yeah. That's way too young. All right.
Indeed.
DC Comics confirms Wonder Woman spin-off Trinity series from Tom King. So this is the daughter of Wonder Woman, and she's going to end up getting her own series.
Mm-hmm. Apparently trying to find out who the daddy is. Who the pappy.
Okay.
Or I believe that is the case. But yeah. Okay, cool. Next up, though, unless you want to say something else about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Green Lantern officially debuts the full powers of a new sadness-based Lantern Corps. Spoilers for Green Lantern 15. We talked about this kind of last week, but apparently, yeah, their power set is now on display, whatever the hell that may be. I'm mopey. No, I'm stop. I don't know, but regardless, that's a thing. If you are interested, you can check that out in this Screen Rant article. Yeah. But next up,
the first ever Two-Face solo series is coming this December, so in a few months. So this is going to be by Christian Ward and Fabio Veras. Those are the writers and I guess the writers and artists, with colors by Ivan Placencia and letters by Hassan Otsame Elhau. Okay, this is launching December 4th.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, they flipped a coin on that one. Image teases Grant Morrison's return to comics. So it has not been fully confirmed. Oh, Image has not yet fully confirmed the Morrison Ice Cream Man crossover, instead opting to let fans speculate for a while. So I guess their book Ice Cream Man and he's contributing to the upcoming anthology of Ice Cream Man stories. And it notes Grant Morrison's last comics project back in 2021. That Ice Cream Man thing is going to be heading to Hollywood for some reason. But okay. And yeah. So yeah, that was just a teaser of something that is probably happening, which I've been seeing teasers about for reasons, I guess. I don't know. Next up, and lastly.
Oh, apparently Penguin is out now too.
Yes. Yeah, I forgot to mention that earlier. That Penguin show is out.
I'll be catching up on Penguin and on Rings of Power in the next several days. Last but not least, IDW pivots. What's that?
I said Agent 70 will be talking about Penguin next week.
Right. Yeah, Roddykat apparently is not a fan of Colin Farrell getting dressed up in a fat suit.
No, it's not that. It's just that I haven't seen the Batman first of all, and I don't see.
That's right. I forgot about that part.
Yeah.
IDW pivots to publishing horror comics with new imprint and licenses. That's good. So IDW has decided to become more focused as a company on publishing horror comics in terms of what they dub their co-creator originals. Good for them.
Yeah, got to do something. I mean, horror books are. I heard from a friend of mine that there is a documentary on that goes through horror stuff that is doing a section on horror comic books, of which there are a lot more than you'd think there would be.
Yeah, good for them though. They're gonna announce a lot of this stuff at New York Comic Con.
Yeah, and I can't remember the name of that documentary, and I'm not gonna look it up at this point. But I'm sure if there's something about it in the next couple of weeks, then I'll be sure, because I know there's a lot of horror fans out there.
Sure.
And with that, folks, that is the end of the news. Can we get one last ad read?
Sure. Before the last ad read, though, I have a little toy corner.
Oh, right.
Just a little toy corner, very quickly, because I'm tired. Surprisingly, I did receive something I ordered a while back, and I didn't miss out on this particular pre-order. Unlike the Wolverine and the Captain America, I'm going to be chasing after those figures, unfortunately, later. But I picked up the Odin, like kind of a deluxe figure right here. And you could see, I made a remark last week that he appears to be built on the Thanos buck, than the figure, as it were. And I think this is going to be the Odin that takes over any Asgardian displays that I do, because he's just like this giant, beefy version of the character, and it's pretty cool. It does come with Hugin and Munin, does come with a couple of different. He has 2 different helmets, different hands, a sword, and his spear Gungnir. So it's pretty cool. Here we go. Whoa! Look at that.
Yeah, if you're watching, if you're watching the video version, you can see it all front and center.
Yep. There it is. There it is. Alrighty. Glad to have him as part of the collection.
Indeed. We were talking earlier before the show, like it would be cool if they did the Thor's chariot with the goats.
Yes. If they did that, I would absolutely get that. I would wait. I would jump on that pre-order. They should make that the next pre-order, the way they did the Dragon Man. Like Dragon Man is great, but if they did Thor's chariot and goats, that would be so good. If they threw another Thor in there, I'd be like, fine. But like I would be happy if they put like a Balder in there. Just as like make it a little bit more enticing, because we're never going to get a Balder figure. But if they throw Balder in there, I can't think of any other Asgardians they might want to throw in to like kind of entice people who don't want to get a chariot and goats. But who wouldn't want to get a chariot and goats?
Indeed.
All right. So I will wrap with our last ad read of the night. It's for one of our sponsors. Keep our podcast free by shopping at Amazon. Visit cspn.us, then click the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down and click on the Amazon link to shop. Purchase items from Amazon as you normally would, whether it's books, music, electronics, jewelry, apparel, or Marvel Legends. For every purchase made on Amazon through our link, Amazon sends the CSPN a payment that helps us keep the Comic Book Chronicles podcast free for our listeners at no extra cost to you. Amazon.com through cspn.us. Do it today.
All right, folks. Wait, did I miss that news? I'll look into that after the show. Shout out to Big Daddy Kane's sophomore album. It's a Big Daddy Kane. It's a Big Daddy thing. Who turned 35 as we were recording this.
Goodness gracious.
The day we recorded this, which is one of the other things. Like, God, but folks, we are gonna bug on out of here because it's late, and one of us is hungry. So,
and the other is tired.
Well, both are tired, but one of us is more hungry than tired. So, yeah. I have been Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can find me at Newsnest Needle Twitter. You can find me at CBCaps on Instagram. Agent_7 on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads. You can find this here podcast on your podcast browser place of choice. Well, excuse me. First, you can find it at CSPN, the Coastal Podcast Network, at cspn.us.
Do it today.
Told you I was tired. You can also find this on your podcast browser place of choice, whether it be Apple iTunes, like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Coastal Podcast SoundCloud page.
Make sure to click like, subscribe, and leave us all the positive 5-star reviews, especially on Apple Podcasts, because that helps people find our show.
Indeed. And also, you can find us mostly every Thursday night, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time, or somewhere roundabout after that. Recording live on the YouTube channel of The Kliq Nation. That's youtube.com/The Kliq Nation. That's TheKliqNation, all one word. And twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles. I feel like I don't need to spell that one out, but you know what? Handle that.
Like I said, make sure to click like, subscribe, and hit that notification button so you know when we are on live and direct. Smash those buttons. I know that aggravates Roddy.
And as a person who streams on a semi-regular basis, I don't even say that mess. But anyway, yeah, folks, we'll be back next week. More Agatha, more Rings of Power.
Maybe a little penguin.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll talk about what anything else that happened on Batman Day, which will have passed us before we record it, and anything else that happens pop up. And of course, the week.
I was about to say, before we sign off, shout out to Shogun and all of the creators and actors who are involved with that. We completely forgot to mention that. Yes. Shout out to Shogun and Anna Sawai. and Hiroyuki.
Especially to Anna Sawai.
Yes, especially to Anna Sawai.
Hold on. Yes, like really quick. Let's see. They got how many Emmys? It was like 17 nominations or something like that.
No, it was like 24. They got like 20 of them or something like that. It was a lot.
None of these are giving me a number. So yeah, they take it as that. But yeah, shout out.
Did you end up watching it?
No, because I still don't have Hulu. If Disney Plus and Hulu would get their shit together and give me a nice solid yearly rate, then I would probably do that.
Yeah. Now I'm on the search for whatchamacallit for the numbers. So let's see here.
Like 17 that they won. It was 17 they won or something that was nominated, because I don't remember, but I know it was a double-digit number.
Right. So they picked up 18 total.
There we go.
That's including like creative. That includes the creative awards. Like the technical awards.
Right.
So.
Oh yeah, there it is. Now I see it. Yeah. Thanks for Roddy.
Yeah, that's cool. So yeah, no. So extra shout out to Anna Sawai, but also to Hiroyuki Sanada.
Absolutely. And with that, folks, hey, you can get your 30th anniversary PS5 if you want to, but this has been, hey, you know what? I'm going to show Agent 70 this after the show. But anyway, this has been...
I saw it.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
The 30th anniversary one?
Yeah.
Okay. Folks, this has been the Comic Book Chronicles. Peace.
One. And based on how much info we tried to cram in right at the end of the show before we signed off,